the company, guys. There are only 129 CEOs in Wolf and Every Group. It's crazy, huh? In the hierarchy, you know, we had like 3 or 4 or 5, I think. 5. There's only 129. But this guy has the biggest team in the hierarchy, super team. So when we see the category super team, it's always Nick Lancaster because he got the biggest team. He's got the biggest team. And that's how you win in the business, right? With the biggest team. So help me bring up Mr. Nick Lancaster, CEO. Woo!
Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
You guys pumped up, fired up, super excited?
Yes.
All right. You gotta tell yourself that. Write that down on your piece of paper, your journal. Write that down on your put that on your bathroom mirror. You know, your business plan. I'm gonna put the battle plan on the WeChat so you guys can measure that. You know, I thought Tuesday night was a crucial meeting for our team because we set out goals for the team to kind of measure what you want to contribute. Whether it's a whether it's a sports team or it's a team in business or in anything. Any group of people coming together, even Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots, the coach, he's won how many Super Bowls? 6 Super Bowls, and their mantra is do your job. Like if you're an offensive, if you're a left tackle, then you got to protect the quarterback. If you're a wide receiver, you got to catch the ball. You got to get open and catch the ball. Whatever your role is, the same things apply on a sports team apply in business. So you got to do your job. If you're a training associate, your job is to get to associate, right? If you're an associate, how you got there is what you should be doing every month, right? 3-3-30, right? Every single month. So there becomes a consistency, right? Because if you're not consistent, then you're not contributing to your own personal gain, right? Which is you're in business to make money, right? We're going to help people and make money doing it. But you got to be consistent with your efforts. You got to be consistent with your attitude, right? You got to be consistent in upgrading your identity, right? You can't doubt yourself. You have to have consistent belief in what we do for families, in the system, in the office, in the leaders around you, right? In our products and services. You got to have a consistent belief in those things, right? But it starts with belief in yourself, right? If you doubt yourself, then doubt starts to pour into other parts of your life, other parts of your mindset. So that strong belief system is part of that consistency. But consistency is everything, right? Can you go to the gym once a month and get fit? No. Probably pretty hard to do, right? Yeah. So I appreciate you guys for being here and being consistent with your meeting attendance. Like how many times even did they say at convention that missing meetings was the kiss of death?
All the time.
How many leaders stood up there and said you gotta not ever miss a meeting, like ever? And I can say that. I can say I've never missed a BPM. Unless I was on a WFG trip, like Hawaii, where the company actually flies you out there, pays for your flight, pays for your hotel, has a welcome dinner, all these things are during the BPM. Yeah, of course, And even then, I've done conference calls, or I've done, a Zoom, right? Or we've done things where I'm in Hawaii and I'm talking to the team at the BPM. And we'll do those things, we'll do those things again too. I just set up a Zoom, so we'll be able to do that to where you can now view each other through a conference call or even like a trainings and things like that too. So, but this is worth it all. This is worth it all. So you have to decide, and you heard that at convention plenty of times. You have to decide that this is it. Like, this is where I'm going to build my future. This is where I'm going to get good at this. And this is where I'm going to become financially independent. I'm going to be the leader that a team will follow. I'm going to be the leader that a team could have trust in and have faith in and know that if they follow me, that they'll go places. That's very, very important. So your activity is very important and your attitude. Like we said, there's the only two things you can control. Write those things down. I think you heard that convention too. Yep. Only two things you can control: your attitude and your activity. Everything else is outside of your control. Well, my team didn't show up. You know what? Good attitude, you keep bringing more people. Well, I had a chargeback. Great attitude, more activity. Go go book another appointment, right? The people I'm prospecting aren't calling me, aren't answering their phone. Great attitude, keep getting more numbers. Keep making more calls, right? Whatever setback. Hey, I got cut off on the freeway. Great attitude, stay in your lane. Don't pull off the side of the road and try to beat somebody up. Control your emotions. So you control your attitude, you control your activity. That's all you can control in life, really. Can you control someone else? Nope. It's hard to do, right? So they say, how do you build leaders then if you can't control them? Like, they have to, what it comes down to is we create an environment, we create a system where we're teaching basic concepts, right? You guys realize, and I think I mentioned this at the last BPM, if I'm not mistaken, but they spent 3 days teaching you. I don't know if you understand the psychology behind this, and I don't know if I shared this at last BPM, but think about it like this. You're like, what did I get out of convention? Increased belief, right? Like, dude, all these freaking people are winning and making this much money, and they were all once training associate, showing up to BPM, maybe missing 1 or 2 here and there before they decided, like, all right, I'm really going to do this, whatever it was, right? So you have this increased belief. If they can do it, I can do it. The commitment that you're out of your comfort zone, you're out of your normal environment, you're out of your normal habitat, per se, you're in Vegas. You had to make a sacrifice financially, potentially, right? But look at it from this perspective. You learned so much about recruiting, it's insane. The 3 days of training, all you heard was how to sell the opportunity. Was it not?
Yep.
Yes.
Every single speaker taught you how they sell the business. And if you notice, a lot of them, they use their personal story. You write this down. My personal story will be one of my best recruiting tools. My personal story will be one of my best recruiting tools. And then as a little side note, the stories of other successful WG people will also help me as well. Think about it. When you're prospecting an engineer and you can go, man, you know what? There's a guy who's an engineer in my company that makes over $1 million a year. He left one of the largest firms, right? Or you're talking to a CPA. You're like, hey, I know a guy who's a CPA. We have a guy in our company that's a CPA that left one of the largest CPA firms in North America and came in business with us and now makes a 7-figure passive income. Brian Loiso, right? Or, hey, I know, oh man, you're only 19? Man, you know what? We have a guy in our company that started at 19. He's 30, or whatever Mario Bione is, 31 or 32 years old. And he's over $750 a year now. Right? He's from, born in Acapulco, Mexico. Right? And then many examples of different people. So you have your story, right? Like, you guys know my story. I was working at ADT, in debt, paycheck to paycheck. I bounced around jobs after high school, right? I actually was a bus boy. It was my first job when I was 16 in an Italian restaurant. I learned like basic things. Did you know that like in restaurants that it's common sense, but I actually learned when I was 16 there, but then you still see restaurants do it, that people are sweeping the floor as people are still eating. That people are in there kind of like sweeping underneath the tables and stuff like that. Dude, if anyone did that in the restaurant that I worked at, it's called Chicago Pasta House. On Sunny Boulevard. Dino, the owner, he's from Chicago. And I heard a bunch of crazy, mafia stuff. Like they would sleep with their doors open and all that stuff because they were like, hardcore Italian guys. And dude, it was like you get fired for that. It was like because the dust and stuff coming up on people's food. Common sense, but you see people still do it. Like in fast food places, Subway, they're like sweeping underneath the table. You're sitting there eating your sandwich. People are sweeping. What? So anyway, that was my very first job. Left there, went into work as a forklift. Did construction for electrician. Did that with my buddy. Left that, went into forklift drive. So I actually got a forklift driver's license. My parents were like, "What are you doing? Driving a forklift? Like you got straight A's in middle school, high school, AP." All that stuff, and you're gonna go get a forklift. I'm like, well, I gotta make money while I'm, figuring out my life and what I'm gonna do. So I did that. My buddy that got me a job in construction started working as a restaurant cook, and said, hey, they're hiring. I go, I don't know how to cook. He goes, neither do I, but they're gonna train us. So I went over there and became a cook. And it's so funny because everywhere you go, so that was a job that was referred by a friend. That's what we're doing. You're just referring someone a job. People go, oh, do I have to recruit? Man, you got recruited where you work at right now. Someone recommended, a friend of yours recommended that you get the job, and you got the job where you're at right now. Most of the time. How many people actually apply and get a job? Not very often. You'd be surprised more who you know than what you know nowadays. Right? So my buddy that got me a job in construction got me the job. So I followed him to construction, then he left, went to restaurant. I followed him to the restaurant. I brought my brother in. I brought a friend of mine. Both into the restaurant. We were all cooks there, servers and stuff. Like chicks we went to high school with. Like, hey, they need a server, and came on. I didn't make no money on this stuff, right? But did that. Worked my way into management. Was doing well there. Then complaining to my mom at like a birthday party or something. My mom's like, well, why don't you come work with me? My mom was the manager of Victoria's Secret at the Reno Valley Mall. Well, at Victoria's Secret, right, corporations, you can't work with family in the same location. So she was working at the Reno Valley Mall. I got to go to the good mall. I got to go to the Galleria at Tyler. Fragrance department, right? So separate lingerie and fragrance. I was working fragrance, so don't get any crazy ideas. But then I got my brother the job there in lingerie. They need a stock boy. I go, hey, well, my brother probably work here, so my brother worked lingerie. Literally like steaming the freaking panties as they come out of the box. That was his job. He just steam because they come in a box and they're wrinkly. He had to steam them on a little thing. He had to steam the panties. I'm like, all right, dude, whatever. He made money. He's pumped up, fired up, super excited. Yes, guys do work there. Work my way on the sales floor. It's funny, the guy that field trained me, the guy that worked there, is now the GM at Raw Sushi down in Dos Lagos. Actually, his name's Nick too, and we're buddies. I need to write him up and get him recruited. But anyway, so did Victoria's Secret. I left Victoria's, and there's all a story behind this. Okay, and there's a story within the story. So I left Victoria's Secret, and I went to work for ADT. So my younger brother Damien got a job at ADT. And I had an apartment with my friend, Tim. We called him Tim Tang, because he was like in the Wu-Tang Clan and all that stuff. We called him Tim Tang. His name was Tim Tang, literally. We called him Tim Tang. And so I was living in an apartment there. Tim's going through some challenges or whatever. He moved out. My little brother moved in. My brother's working at ADT. So I was going to school at RCC. I bounced around Reno Valley campus, Riverside campus, Norco campus. I went to all three of them. Never finished. I went through all three campuses over a period of 3 or 4 years while I was bouncing around these jobs. Okay, so I'm going to school, and then I'm going to Victoria's Secret. And my brother, when I would get up to go to school, he was sleeping in. Then when I would come home after school and I'd have to get ready to go to Victoria's Secret, he was at home playing video games. I'm like, what the hell? And then he showed me his paychecks, and they were a lot bigger than my paychecks, and I was still going to school, all this stuff. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He goes, he hands me a piece of paper. So you know how we have the the help me script? He hands me the help me. He hands me like an invitation script. It was a door pitch. He's like, memorize this. He goes, read it out loud in front of the mirror, over and over again, and I'll get you a job. You can come work with me. This is literally like a door script to go door to door. I'm like, oh shit, dude, I'm a shy introvert. I'm the biggest shy introvert you'll ever meet. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna knock on someone's door, right? Like, be the outgoing, like, hey. So, but the door pitch, like, it was effective. It worked. So I literally memorized the door pitch. I went through the door script in the mirror over and over and over again. So then that next week, he's like, all right, hey, well, we're training some agents, come in. So I literally go out and we would do a 2 o'clock managers meeting from 2 to 4. Well, the managers were running the meeting. So the manager would run a meeting from 2 to 4. And then at 4 o'clock, we'd go out knocking doors from 4 to 8. That was the shift. And literally, like, I'm going, so my brother would take me with me. I would say the door pitch in front of the door, and then he would help me, like, with objections and stuff. And then, literally my first day, we got into a house, and he did the presentation, and he wrote up the deal. And he's like, you made $200. I'm like, shoot, okay, cool. Now they pay like $500 a deal now. My brother still knocks door to door. 15 years later, still doing it. Actually, 3 years there, plus 15 years here. He's been 18 years later, he's still doing door to door. Even still today. But anyway, so I started working there. I got rid of, had left Victoria's Secret. Actually, I was gone for Victoria's Secret for like a month and a half, like 3 months. I started working at ADT. I started working at ADT two weeks before 9/11. 2 weeks before 2 weeks before the Twin Towers went down. I remember out in the neighborhood, knocking on doors when they're like, the president is addressing the da-da-da-da. And it was like 9/11. Well, why is that significant? Because security industry, like, boom. Everyone wanted home security. Everyone was like, protect your family. I mean, terrorist attacks, whatever. Everyone's like, get the alarm system, blah, 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 all this stuff. So anyway, knocked doors, did that, worked my way into management. And then they had a buddy so before I was in management, the reason why I got to a manager so fast, and I don't even know like how I even got good at this stuff. But literally they're like, there's a buddy program. Kind of like how like Anthony brought in Juan, right? There's a buddy program. If you bring in someone and they write a alarm system, you'd make $50 override. That's where I first learned the word override. And I was like, wait, what? But yeah. And I'm like, how many people can you bring in? They're like, as many as you want. I'm like, you're kidding me. And all they gotta do is, they knock on a door. You gotta knock on so many doors to get into a house and write the deal. But they knock on a door and they get in the house and they write the deal. I make $50 and I wasn't even there. Like, yeah. I was pumped up, fired up, super excited. I started bringing people in. I brought in my middle brother, so like my youngest brother got me in. He got in from another guy that went to high school with named Brad. Okay? Brad brought in this guy, Randy, who became my best, one of my best friends. He brought in Randy and Damien. So Brad had Randy and Damien, my youngest brother, direct to him. Right? Both writing deals, $50 each. So if you're writing 10, we'd write 10 every 2 weeks. Right? Maybe, like 10 every 2 week pay period. And so he's making, 10 times 50, making 500, what is that, $500? He's making $500 off each person every 2 weeks. He's making an extra $500 a week, right? Override these two guys. So then he brings me in. So then Damien's like, well, shoot, I want to override. So he brings in. There was no levels. So when Damien brought someone in, I made, Damien made $50 off me, but Brad didn't. Does that make sense? So it wasn't multiple levels. It was just a buddy program. So then I caught on to it, and I brought in my buddy Joe Moses. I brought in my brother John. My brother John is like the last one to kind of jump in on anything that we do. Like Damien or me will like start something, and then John will like, okay, you're doing good. Okay, now I'm in. you know? So I brought John in. So I had him, I had this guy, I had Joe. We would do, after the shifts, we'd go do our, we'd go have a beer. We'd literally do meeting after the meeting. So we'd get done with our shifts, whatever deals we would write, the managers would go back. We'd have to run the credit scores, make sure the account got approved, and they were being installed the next day or two or whatever. So very similar. It was literally like a KTP. You'd get in the house, you'd do a presentation, you'd have to get the account number, routing number, get their commitment that they're going to pay monthly for the service. You'd upgrade, upsell, like, oh, you need another motion detector here. Or you need do you want your smoke sensor connected to the fire department or whatever, all that stuff. You upsell equipment and make, upsell the deal, right? Kind of like selling a bigger policy or adding a Everest or whatever, same type of thing. You guys with me?
Yes.
So we're eating after the meeting, sitting there, and this guy's like kind of sharp dude. You can kind of tell, loosened, had a tie on, loosened it. It was kind of like the guy that was like, rough day at work, rough day at the office kind of a thing. Tip him back a drink and kind of overhears us. Long story short, I bring this guy in as a buddy. He becomes the rep of the month the first 3 months. Older guy, briefcase, he'd knock on 3 doors, get in 3 houses. We're like, dude. And we'd go to AM/PM before, right at 4, we'd leave. We'd go to AM/PM, he'd grab a 22-ounce Corona and put it in his back, put it in his little briefcase or whatever, or like kind of tuck it in this like thing. We get dropped off in the neighborhood, and he's on one side, I'm on the other, and he'd sit there and just pound a 22 Corona, and then just boom, 3 houses, 3 deals. And we're like, dude, he did it multiple times. I'm like, how the hell you do it? Like, I don't know, it just takes the edge off, takes my nervousness off, and loosens up, boom. He was even doing little funny stuff, and all that. All that.
He was relaxed.
Yeah, he was chilling. It was awesome. So anyway, I got this team. I got this buddy program, and these guys are hiring the managers are hiring training people. I'm bringing people off of War Market and referrals. So I get into it like an assistant management position, and my car, I just paid off my Honda Civic. I had a Honda Civic with shade door handles, lowered with an exhaust. Okay? With 3 JL audio, W6s in the back, and I'm bumping down my cul-de-sac and knocking pictures off the walls in people's houses. Like, literally, that's how much the bass was bounced off that hatchback. So that was setting off car alarms. Knocking pictures off the walls. That's going down the street. It was good times. So literally, the month before, I just paid off my car. I'm on the freeway and I'm in the fast lane, and a semi truck kind of swerves into the lane in front of me. The lady in front of me panics and loses control and spins out in front of me in the fast lane, and I come to a screeching stop because she's spinning out. So I'm obviously slowing down. She's spinning. All of a sudden she spins and comes to a stop, and I'm like, boom! I'm stopping. I hit the front of her car. Hit the front of her car. Total so airbag deploys. I got my sunglasses on. Airbag deploys and seatbelt, all this stuff, and totals my car. So she said she tried to claim through the insurance that it wasn't her fault. I'm like, I hit the front of your car on the freeway, and I was going in the right direction. So, insurance company, I'm not at fault here. So anyway, long story short, when you pay off a car and you get in an accident, you don't, now you got, I think it was like $6,000 I got left on my car. And now I got to go find a car for $6,000, and I'm like, dude, So anyway, but luckily I had a good job. Things were rolling. I had buddies. I was doing deals. So I got the bright idea, which I guess it worked to my advantage temporarily, but ended up being a dumb financial decision long term. I put a down payment, and I bought a brand new Cadillac CTS, silver one. And if I was showing you like a slide, I'd show you pictures, and you guys have all seen these pictures before. So I buy this silver CTS. The first year that body style came out, it's a 2001. Right, it's 2001. It's the 100th anniversary of Cadillac. It's the brand new CTS. The first year that model came out. I remember seeing that car and go, "What is that?" I'm like, "I want that. It looks cool." Everyone's like, "What is that?" Right? I put mirror tint on it. all the way around. I put mirror tint. So I'm silver with mirror tint all the way around. And so not even knowing what I'm doing. I'm driving down the street. I exit McKinley right there. And I'm like, I didn't even know what it was. But I knew that I knew that everyone I brought in, I'd make $50. So it's funny, I'm gonna go prospect, but I didn't know the word was prospect. There was no term for it. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go give my, so like I see this guy, I didn't know what I was doing, I was just getting off on that exit, I guess. Actually, I know I was getting off on that exit because I bought my condo right there on McKinley. So I'm exiting, heading home, I guess, and a guy's walking down the street in Carl's Jr. clothes. And I literally pull over, I roll down my window, and I'm like, hey man, and I don't even know the script, I don't even know what the hell I'm doing, I just did it. I'm like, hey, do you want to work at Carl's Jr. the rest of your life? And he's like, hell no, and I'm in a brand new Cadillac CTS. Like, polished, wheels, chrome wheels, just decked out, right? And I'm like, do you plan on doing that forever? No. I go, here's my, so back then I didn't even know to get the number. I'm just like, here's my card. If you're serious about doing something different, call me Monday morning, we're hiring. He didn't ask any questions. I just had it was my ASC security, it's authorized, has a little ADT sign in the corner of the card that says ASC Security USA on the business card with my name on it. I give him my card, I said, call me Monday morning. This guy became another top producer. Actually, he's one of Damien's best friends still. His name's Nick Toker. And so I recruited him into ADT. He was another buddy. So I had this guy Horace, top, rep of the month. Then Nick became rep of the month, and I personally went out and knocked on these doors with these guys, field trained them the first week. So go out with them every night, knocking doors, helping them get into houses, right? Once they're on their own knocking, then when they get in, they call a manager, go, hey, I'm new, but I'm here at this house, and this family's interested in looking at the system, and a manager would go, show up to the house, hey, hey, so you guys are interested, okay, let me show you what it's all about. The manager would go in and close it until you were ready. So it's kind of like WFG, right? You book a KTP, you go with a trainer, right? Maybe you need help with the calls, et cetera, et cetera. So I started to build these people. So of course, so I worked my way into management. So I'm 3 years in. 3 years in, I bought my condo. I'm driving a brand new Cadillac. I'm a manager. I'm making like 50 grand a year. I'm 26 years old, and a guy named Jesus calls me. And Jesus goes, "Hey Nick, you don't remember me, but your old manager, Diana, is my wife. Your old manager from Victoria's Secret. That's my wife." And I said, "Okay." He goes, "I work with a company, we're expanding, and we're looking for some good people. And, my wife and your mom have been talking about, how well you're doing at ADT," because my mom was still a store manager at the other store. So Diana and her knew each other. And, and he goes, "Hey, I'd like you, want you to, come out." And I said, "Thanks, but no thanks." He goes, "Well, tell me what you got going on." So I went on to tell him, "Hey, I'm 26, I'm making 50 grand a year, I'm a branch manager, just a homeowner, bought a condo, got a brand new Cadillac, like, thanks, but no thanks." And he told me, he goes, "Nick, as good as it is right now, it could be 10 times better." He goes, "I just want you to come take a look at take a look at what we're doing. If you like it, great. If not, you keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, you're already doing well." I don't know about you, but for me, like, I wasn't to the point where I thought I was better than everyone else, but I did. Not till I really came down to it, I realized there was another level of play, obviously. But I wasn't falling. I was check to check. I had $13,000 in debt. So my first reaction was, what do I have to lose? Why not? So I went up to the office there on a one-on-one. He booked a one-on-one. And I met with Guillermo in an empty office. So imagine one of these offices with just 3 chairs in it. So I'm sitting in the lobby, and I see people pacing back and forth in the office or whatever. And then Jesus grabs me, and he brings me into an office with a tall, bald-headed Mexican dude named Guillermo. And we sit in 3 chairs in an empty office, and he does a one-on-one with me, sells me the drink. And he goes, I want you to come back tomorrow night. This was a Monday, or I forget whatever day it was. I want you to come back. We're having a business presentation meeting. We're having a corporate overview, I think he called it. We're having a corporate overview where we're gonna go through the company, how we get paid, the different benefits, like what we do, the product, all that stuff. But I want you to bring 3 people with you when you come. And so he gave me like a little kit, a little brochure or whatever, and I remember leaving. And at the time, my mom had already knew that Diana was trying to get my number and stuff, for Jesus. So I called my mom, mama's boy a little bit, right? So I called my mom, and I'm like, because actually I think she called me, like, how did it go? Because I told her, I'm like, yeah, I'm meeting with Jesus and, his broker or whatever. So she's calling me afterwards, like, how did it go? Because my mom hated Victoria's Secret. She wanted to get out of there so freaking bad. So she's like, how did it go? Like thinking like she could do it too, already. She's already in that frame of mind. And here's the thing. You ain't gotta bug people, you ain't gotta beg people. The right ones want it. The right ones want in. If we gotta beg someone to get here, you gotta beg them in every step of the way. You gotta beg them to show up, you gotta beg them to come to the convention. The reason why we go over this stuff is just so you know how you're gonna build your business around these contests and events. It's not to persuade you to actually do the business. If you don't want to do the business, don't do the business. Just don't show up. But if you're here, then do the things that the company has set up for you to win, right? Makes sense, right? We shouldn't have to convince people to register for Wealth Bowl. It's just, you should be like, okay, I'm getting my ticket on this day. Or, okay, here. You get cash or card, or, oh, let me go write a check, or let me go to ATM and come right back. We shouldn't have to convince you guys to do that. So same thing. My mom was like, so I go, well, they invited us, bless you. So he invited me to come back and bring 3 people. So I brought my younger brother, Damien, who brought me into ADT. I brought my best friend, Randy, who was Damien and mine best friend. He was a top producer at ADT too, that Brad had brought in, right? And then I brought my mom. So I brought my brother, my best friend, and my mom. That night, went through Mozone, there's 150 people in there, place is packed. Ed Milet breaks the floor. Ed Milet breaks the floor in this foyer. So it's like a foyer. And then I learned later on, I ended up having to break the floor and become that presenter. But you're speaking amongst basically like you go, hey, good evening. And like people kind of back up and clear out. And you have to literally like kind of da-da-da, and you kind of got to speak to the whole crowd that's gathered around you. There was no stage, there was no, okay, my back, okay, hey, I'm good, all I could do is just stand here like this and talk. You literally had to like, and the script was long and very thorough, but it was solid, it was really good. It talked about how we were gonna become the Walmart of financial services, all the records that we're breaking now was just a vision back then. You know what I mean? So I bought into it. I went on a tour. I went into Mozone, right? I started meeting people. I got the same things. I thought it was weird. I was shy introvert. I think I went to the restroom like 4 or 5 times just to avoid the crowd. I'm not this outgoing person. But I sat for the presentation and I thought to myself, like, who do I think I am? Because everything that they went over, I'm like, I'm in debt. I'm living check to check. I'm da-da-da. So I'm like, as good as I thought I was doing, I wasn't doing very good at all. So then we get out of there and we're like, yeah, like we're in. They're like, oh, it's not that easy. You got to come. You could set up an interview for tomorrow. Tomorrow. And we're like, how early? Like 9 a.m. Like we'll be there at 9 a.m. All 3 of us, like 9 a.m. tomorrow. So they didn't. It was a takeaway. It was like, what? You want to start right now? No, you can't. You got to come back tomorrow morning for an interview. We're like, crap. Oh, and by the way, if you want some more information, you got to pay for a kit. So literally, like you would buy a $5 kit. It was like a brochure. They'd make you pay for it. So you pay for this kit. You pay for this kit, and then now you have this information. I remember taking that information back and reading it, like, man, that's awesome. And interview tomorrow, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? We all come in the next day, 9 a.m., right? Guillermo does our interview, like a group interview. All 3 of them join. They ask me. They're going through the application, like, do you have any felonies and misdemeanors? Well, I actually had a felony in 2001, just to be completely honest with you guys. I had a felony in 2001. This was 2004. And he goes, man, Nick, like, let me just let me just be real with you, dude. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, as real as you could be. I mean, yeah, I want the truth, you know? Because he was like, oh, he's like, well, hold on, you know, stop filling that out. Oh, crap, you know? And my brother, my best friend, and my mom are all signing up. And he's like, you know what? You're not going to be able to get licensed for like, he goes, when was your felony? 2001. He's like, we're in 2004. He's like, okay, 3 years. He goes, you're not going to be able to get licensed for like 7 more years. I'm going to be very clear with you guys. That didn't stop me. I still never missed a meeting. I still never missed a meeting. Okay? I just said, well, what I did 3 years ago has nothing to do with who I am right now. I know, but there's legalities, and well, what am I gonna do? Well, you could try to get licensed. You could, you know, see what they say. You could, you know, all right, what do I need to do? You need to get your court documents. You need to have it stamped by the court. You need to, you know, probably letters of recommendation. So I got, my next door neighbor was a 3rd grade. My next door neighbor, growing up, was my 3rd grade teacher. I got a letter of recommendation from her. Okay, so teacher, you know, education, stuff like that. Hey, you know, I had perfect attendance there and all this stuff, and you know, so she's like, hey, he was an excellent student, blah, 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 was also a neighbor, would babysat my kids, all this stuff, right? And so I got a reference from there. My mom's best friend was a county clerk, so she worked at the courthouse. So I got her to write a letter. So I got a letter from the courts, like basically a county clerk, but still a letter from someone in the court, you know, in the legal system, I guess you could say. So she writes a letter. Hey, that I've known Nick my whole life, blah, 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 blah. I had to do a personal, right? My own personal, like what happened and now who I am now. I am a homeowner. I've moved on. That was the past. By the way, the stuff I got a felony for is now legal today. If you guys can put 2 and 2 together. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't rob any banks. I didn't, you know, it's all legal now. Okay, just put it out there. Unbelievable. Okay, so anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But so I get, and then my brother. So I have an older half brother that was on the in SWAT in Florida. He actually went to Bible college. He's actually a pastor, and he's also he was 10 years on the SWAT team in Orlando, Florida. I got him to write a letter. So I got law enforcement, I got a county clerk, I got a 3rd grade school teacher that was my neighbor. I got a letter from Guillermo. I started putting all this stuff together. I passed it, so I take a week off of work, off ADT. By the way, I'm keeping this under wraps too, because I'm a branch manager at ADT. I can't tell them like, hey, I got a little side gig because I cut my hours, do whatever. So I'm basically doing this business under like, hey, I have a financial class I'm attending. I have to miss Tuesdays and Saturdays. I never missed a meeting. I was at every single pregame, the whole thing. And so, anyway, they denied me 3 times. The 4th time, so I took the test, passed, submitted my paperwork, denied. Well, how do I appeal? You can't. You can't get a life license with a felony, is what they were telling me. I kept recruiting, I kept building, I kept showing up. I got the recruiting one-on-one down. I was building a team. I was doing everything. I originally did it with my mom and started building that way, right? So I used my mom's code number. So the 4th time, finally, the state goes, you know what, this guy is not gonna, you know, not the 4th time, you know, they were like, this guy's, you know, the 2nd or 3rd time I got a letter from Rich Thawley, because I was already like, I was already breaking records in the company with recruiting and stuff, like just without even writing a sale. I didn't have a code number yet. I was leveraging my team and just working the business the best that I could. And I was hungry, I was determined, I was like, man, I can't even get a code number. Yet there's people that get a code number, do nothing with it. Right? I didn't get a code number until 2008, May 9th of 2008. I got my code number. You know what WG told me? WG goes, if the state will give you a life license, we'll give you a code number. So finally the state gave me the life license. I finally got my license number. I went to WG, Susan Davies, you saw her at the awards ceremony. She's like the base shop coordinator for WG and kind of vice president per se. She runs the whole deal. I sent it to her. And she's like, congratulate Andy Wynn. Oh no, I'm sorry. All right, so got my life license, got my code number, started building it. And then I couldn't get security till 2011. When I got my securities, that was 10 years, right, for my conviction. So securities, it is 10 years. On the day that I was eligible, the 10 years was up, was the day I took my Series 6. 2 weeks later, I took my 63. 2 weeks later, I took my 65. 6, 63, 65, all within a month and a half. And I remember I got a call from Andy Wynn. You guys heard from Andy Wynn at convention? Asian dude that Microsoft, or was it IBM went over $1 million. He called me. He must have been at home office, but they heard that I got securities license. And he called me. Andy Wynn called me from home office. Hey, just want to wish you congratulations. I'm like, Andy Wynn? Holy crap, He was a $1 million+ earner calling me. But they knew my story, I'd been to Hawaii and stuff like that through my team and stuff. And so I tell you guys this because there's a certain, one, I want you to hear my story, but you got to be able to relate your story to your, to help you recruit. Because of my diverse background and things I've been through, I could recruit a lot of different types of people. Someone's construction, hey, dude, been there, done that. Forklift, been there, done that. Restaurant business, been there, done that. Retail, been there, done that. Sale, door-to-door sales, been there, done that. Oh, well, I got a background issue, been there, done that. Think about it, right? So here's the thing, if it's not your story that's gonna get them, leverage someone else's story, leverage my story. But here's the thing, we'll go back to the commitment. How committed are you? I never missed, I didn't have a code number for 4 years. Some of you guys got your code number when you first joined, when you first showed up. But take it kind of lackadaisical. Make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So, that was a long version, and I can go on, right? It's a 30-minute version of my story. Let me ask you this though. I can tell that story word for word again and again. I've told that story 1,000,000 times. You're gonna need a 5-minute version of your story, a 10-minute version of your story, a 30-minute version of your story, and an hour version of your story. Don't believe me? Shoot, September 7th, I'm going up to Vancouver, I think. I don't know, I need to book my flight still. But I'm going to Vancouver to speak to an elite circle, and they go, hey, you gotta speak for 6 hours. Well, then you stretch your story out for like an hour. And really get into it, so people really get to know you better. If you're just, maybe you're doing 30 minutes, or you're doing an hour BPM, or you're a presenter, you gotta do your story in about 5 to 10 minutes. So when Reggie closes the gas, or Matt, or Thomas, or myself, or Ash, or whoever it is, when they're closing the gas, or even the first presenter, it's like a 5-minute story. The closing speaker can maybe go 10-minute story. They're like the closing act. But you gotta have your story, and then how does that story maybe relate to people? So I don't go into the background stuff, obviously, in my story. When I'm speaking to guests, I'm telling you guys, because you guys are my committed people here today, right? But I have my version of my story that takes 10 minutes is, I've done it all. I tried construction, I tried the restaurant business, I tried retail, I even tried sales. And all of those were jobs, and I left each one for a better opportunity at each one. It paid me a little bit more, and I had a little bit more flexibility until I found here. And I bounced around those jobs every 2 or 3 years. I switched. I've been here now 15 years. So now it's like, oh, this is more. So now they're thinking like, okay, I come from a similar background. Oh, I've done that. Oh, I've done that. Or, oh, okay. They can relate. And then also the fact that I've been here 15 years now, I've built up the credibility to go, hey, this is a career. This is something I could really, get in and build something long term. There's 2 types of people you're going to bring in, or that even you prospect. People are just looking for a quick buck, like, hey, extra part-time money. Then there's people that are like a little bit more established that go, I'm not going to invest time into something that's not going to, that I can grow within, right? That I can really see myself doing long term. So, you want to find a relatable story and have some jokes in there and some different things and make it fun. But okay. So we're going to take the next 20, 25 minutes or so here, and I want to go through just a Q&A. I'm going to go through a Q&A with you guys. And this is my outcome. I want us to get better. Like, I want you to think about a couple of things right now, and then you can ask me whatever question you ask. But here's the premise of what I want you to ask questions about. What areas can I improve in? Like, think about right now. Like, what area in your WG career can you improve on the most right now? Or, what do you not know that you need to know? Maybe it's an objection, or how do I make this call, or what do I say if they say this, or where should I prospect, or who should I talk to, or what if my family doesn't support me, or what if my spouse says this, or da-da-da-da-da, like how do I find balance, or whatever. It could be script, it could be the product, it could be, well, how many, what's the surrender period on an IUL, or whatever it is, I want you guys to ask me over the next 25 minutes. So I'm gonna grab my chair, I'm gonna bring it up here, and I want this to be interactive. I want you guys to really think, because if you don't ask questions, then that means you have no real intent of getting better. Because if I sat, I went to Leadership Network, and I was in front of Ed Milet. So think about this, you guys. This was before I became CEO. You guys know how there was Leadership Network there?
Yeah.
They take us to the Waldorf Astoria in New York, and we're in it's a 3-night stay there, and there's a panel, and this panel, literally, imagine, you guys get me, okay, whatever, right? Only promoted, anyway. Ed Milet, Swan Wynn, Rich Thawley, Monty Home, Ed Milet, Jack Linder. Literally, the best of that's ever built this business. The biggest and baddest people in all of WFG. And here's the next, this is the best of the best, the 30 best people in the company that aren't CEOs yet. So the biggest base shops, best recruiting teams, the best people. And in that room of the 30, I was top 5. I was top 5 out of those 30 people. And they throw the pen, so they got these guys, and they had other speakers, so Johnny Marion spoke. I think you guys might have met him briefly or whatever, but Johnny Marion's at 920 cash flow. Came in around the same time as me. There was some other leaders, like Cameron Michaud, who spoke. He was had a little bit of stutter or whatever. He spoke because he had qualified. He had went to the one before, the year or two before that, and then became a CEO. And then if you're still kicking butt, and they ask you to speak at the Leadership Networks as field kind of advice, hey, this is how you get to the next level. But then they bring up the granddaddies of them all, right? All the legends, and now you got to ask them questions. And dude, the questions are just higher law and some lower law stuff and mindset stuff and taking the team to the next level and things like that. But so anyway, I don't take any more time, but just think about it, why aren't you winning right now, and maybe gear your question around that. How could you get better at certain areas or certain things? So whoever wants to go first. Obviously we're recording this too, so you can always watch this again, or I think Ramsey's and his team in Arizona.
Yeah, it'll be on the YouTube channel
as well. But what questions do you guys have, or what can I help you with that maybe you haven't had a chance to ask, or maybe it's something that's been on your mind?
I just want to know, you outside looking in, what can I do to get better? And what do I need to do to get better? I mean, I know I built a team before when we were at the other office over there, but then we kind of slimmed down again, and then it's hard for people to come in the office. So, obviously I'm not doing something right. So what can I do to get better?
So you personally,
Yeah.
What would be my advice to you? Okay. One thing we have to determine is are you full-time or are you part-time? I think that's a mentality that you need to decide. I think even if you're part-time, you have to have a full-time mentality. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a full-time amount of hours invested in. And what's full-time hours anyways? People go, well, how do I get full-time? Full-time is just you ain't doing anything else but WFG. Call it what it is. It says I'd rather work 100 hours for myself than 40 hours for someone else. You know what I mean? But so full-time I would take more of a full-time mentality, and then I'd probably say consistency. One of the things that a lot of us aren't doing is we're not showing up to the office every day. Whether you're part-time or full-time, you have to touch base. This is like home base. It's like when you go play hide and go seek, there's a home base, hey, I hid, and then, hey, when they find you and you start running, there's a home base. You gotta go back to home base. Like home base is like every morning, 9 a.m. You're like, hey, I'm here. Even if you're like, I'm gonna go prospect, you touch base at home base, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna go prospect from 9 to 11.
Yep.
And then 11 comes, and you're back at the office, and you're making calls. So it's so consistency and schedule probably, showing up to the office is huge. It's a mentality, it's just, there's something about the office that's different from your house. It's just, you're not in business. Like most business owners don't work from home. Not big business owners. If you're a small little boutique, you might work from home, but no one who ever built anything big is gonna stay working at home. Eventually they're gonna have to get an office. So now that you already have an office, and that's the beauty of WG. It's not like you're just a CPA independent, like, well, I'm not gonna pay for a lease, I'll just do taxes for my house. No, it's like you're an independent CPA within a big CPA office that's giving you access to the office to use. So you gotta get in the office and utilize the office. And then your team sees you here, and then you're posting stuff that you're here, and then you just create that habit that you show up to the office because you're a businessman or a businesswoman. You were gonna ask something about that.
Yeah, so the ones that don't have an office key, Monday through Friday, are there like office hours that people are gonna be here, or how's that gonna work?
Yeah, so we have, all right, so let's talk about this real quick, and let's be completely honest. There is a $50 plug-in fee to work out of the office. Once you're licensed and appointed, it costs $50 to work out of the office, okay? If you pay $100 a month, you get an office key, okay? If you're not paying $100, then you don't get a key. Or if you have a key and you're not paying $100, you need to return the key. You know, but people that aren't paying that still have keys, it's like, dude, what the hell? But so, right, so we gotta, you know, so if you're paying $50 plug-in, then yeah, you'll have to get someone that has a key, because we don't have set hours. We just don't. So now there probably should be, and we'll be consistent. Like if you tell me, hey, I'll be in the office every day at this time, then we'll make sure someone's here. But same thing, like if me and Anissa show up at 9, and then we're like, we're gonna go get numbers, and no one else is here, we lock up.
I do the same thing.
And we lock up. So, you know, I don't have my full-time assistant kind of works remotely, which is my mom. You know, so my mom works remotely. She used to come in the office every day, but things with family and things change, so now she can't always be here. If I needed her to be here though, she could be. She could be, so we could do that. But also, it's like we're not gonna be racing back and forth, or like if I'm out on an appointment, it's hard for me to come unlock the door, but I'm only gonna do it for people that are paying plug-in fees. Because this office costs $5,000 to run every month. You know? And it's like, and if it was just my office, then I wouldn't have the office, because like I don't need to pay $5,000 for all of your guys' businesses. I can go work out of a little $600 executive suite down the road, pay for my own little desk and a little office like this. I could pay $1,000 for an office like that and have no building in here. But then none of you guys have a place to work. But it shouldn't be at my expense that you guys are using the office. Does that make sense? So that's why people pay for offices. And if I could be frank, Matt's the only one that pays for the office. Well, Matt and Reg are the only two that pay for the office, and they pay for half. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's, you know, and Anthony pays $100 and he has a key. But it's like people need to step up and pay their plugins so that the office can really run, and then we can have that kind of congruency and consistency with people coming in. I think that's where the challenge has maybe been. But if we're talking about showing up and being at the office, then let's do both. Let's show up at the let's be here at the office, but let's pay our financial responsibility to run a business. Does that make sense? If we all do that, then everything's smooth, and then we're here and we're fired up and pumped up, fired up, super excited. You know? So yeah. But I would say that. I mean, there comes some strategy. So like you're like, all right, I have 3 hours of time because I have a full-time job. I have 3 hours. Okay, you want me to be consistent? Okay, when I get off work, I'll come to the office. Now it's just being productive when you're here, or when you touch base and you go prospect, that you're productive, right? So if you're gonna go prospect. Don't just walk around and, well, I didn't talk to anyone today. No, like have intent with what you're doing. And then when you show up to the office, you should have calls to make. Everyone has a warm market, everyone has people that they've talked to, everyone has referrals. If not, we'll help you. But everyone knows 150 people at least when they first join the business. You know, unless you've been living underneath a rock for the last 6 years, you know about 150 people somehow, some way. Through your social medias, through your numbers on your phone. I mean, everyone knows at least 150 people that they can contact. So do you have to contact all 150 people in one day and then run out of numbers to call? No. You call maybe 25 a day, and then now you're prospecting, getting new numbers too. And then you're like, well, how do I call? Well, 25 people, 150, that's gonna take me 6 days. Well, no, because some people you're not gonna get a hold of, and then the next day you're gonna call them, or 2 days later you're gonna call them again and go, hey, wasn't able to get a hold of you. Or you're like, well, how often do I call them? You call them until they answer. You don't make it psycho weird, right? But you should follow up. And if you followed up maybe 6 times, you finally get a hold of someone, you act as if you're barely getting a hold of them for the first time. It's the best trick in the, it's the best mindset. It's like it's like mental warfare. It's like they're thinking like, dude, this number keeps blowing up my phone. Who is this? Right? Because they've seen the number, but you're like, well, why aren't you picking up? So they finally pick up, and you're like, hey man, sorry it's taking me so long to get a hold of you. And they're like, in the back of their head, they're like, this guy's been calling me every day for 2 months. But I act as if it's the first time I call him. Hey man, I apologize for not getting back to you sooner. So let's say that's a prospect that I met. And I've been calling him every day, every other day for 3 weeks. Or a couple times a week for 3 weeks, finally get a hold of him. Thomas, hey, what's up, man? It's Nick. Hey, we met over there. Hey, man, sorry for, first of all, I'd just like to apologize for not calling you back sooner, man. Been super busy. Just takes away the weirdness of it. Takes away that, because he feels bad almost going, oh, yeah, sorry, I haven't been answering. But I take the weirdness out of it. Hey, just apologize, I haven't called you back. Now he's like, oh, crap, well, all right. Right? Or you could say, hey, you're a hard guy to get a hold of, but I think that puts them on a, makes them feel awkward a little bit. So I like using like, hey man, apologize. Hey, first of all, I just like to apologize, man. I've been super busy. You know, I told you I'd call you back in a couple of days. Sorry it's taking me so long to do that. But now I got you on the line. That basically like, well, now that you finally picked up, you know, hey, I know when we talked. And here's the thing, if they keep going and right, you're calling them, they don't answer, finally get a hold of them. Then you say, hey, when we met, you got to reconfirm it. Reconfirm their interest first before the appointment. Hey, Thomas, I know when we met a few weeks ago, you said you kept your options open, and I run the financial firm, so we talked about, but is that still the case? You still keep your options open, right? And then a little hum and a haw, or yeah, absolutely, or whatever. You know, sometimes people get busy. You know, usually in that 3 weeks, I've probably left a voicemail depending on the rapport that I've built. You know, the more rapport you've built, the more you've gotten to know maybe where they, you know, what city they lived in. Maybe you connect with them somehow, some way through questions. I like leaving a voicemail. If I felt I had a great conversation with someone, I built a connection, I'll call them. Hey, Chris, this is Nick, man. You know, we met last week over at the Craig and Auto Parts or whatever, and I know we had a great conversation. Hey, give me a call back, man. I'd like to set up a time to get together with you. Boom. Or sometimes I'll just say, hey, this is Nick, call me back. And then he's like, they might forget who it was or what it was, and they're like, hello, it's Nick. Yeah, who are you? Oh, yeah, we met. Oh, okay. Now you got them on the phone. But you don't want to sit there on their voicemail and invite them. Hey, so call me back. I just want to invite you out to our meeting. And that ain't going to work.
Nope.
That ain't going to work. Hey, this is Nick. Call me back. Here's my number. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? You guys learning from this?
Yes.
This is huge stuff, you guys.
So, obviously you've been one of the biggest builders in WFG, you've been #1 recruiting based shop, in your first 5-6 years. What were your prospecting strategies at the very beginning, the middle of your career, and now? Like, what prospecting and recruiting strategies are you using throughout your career?
Yeah, so you kind of evolve a little bit, but you always have to stick to the basics. So I worked my warm market for a while. For my first maybe few months, I worked my warm market. And I got 3 to 4 directs a month from my warm market. I got 9 directs my first month. They were all coded underneath my upline, which was Jesus, who brought me in because I couldn't get a code number. But I brought in 9 directs. I brought in the guy who did my taxes was the guy I went to high school with, Mike Cameo. He did my taxes. My other manager at ADT, a guy named Brad Westwood. I brought in not Brad that brought in Randy and my brother, but another Brad. So I recruited Brad Westwood. I recruited his cousin, Rob Wilhide. I recruited my mom, Randy, Damien, Brad Westwood, Rob Wilhide, Mike Cameo, my tax guy. I mean, shoot, how many is that? That's 7 or 8 right there. That was my first month. And then it became, guys I went to high school with, family, friends, things like that. Neighbors, other co-workers. I later recruited one guy, Steve Rosveld. When I was leaving ADT, so I left ADT after about 10 months in the business. I left ADT and Steve was the top producer, was the rep of the month that month. And then I brought him in and I taprooted, found Jorge, found Mo and Sophia, who was CEO, and found a bunch of SMEs out of that leg. But I worked my warm market to the fullest, and it was all energy and enthusiasm, you guys. It was all excitement. Excitement creates curiosity. Why the hell are you so excited? You ever seen the Viagra commercial? The guy walking down, right? The guy walking down the office hallway. Everyone's like, "What's up with Bob? Man, you lose weight? Bob, you get a haircut? Bob, blah, blah, blah." And Bob's on Viagra, but the thing is like Bob was excited. Bob had a new energy about himself, right? He looked like he was moving and shaking. He was going places, right? He had a new vision, right? That's how you got to be on the phone. That's how you got to be when you meet, when you go to a birthday party or baby shower. Hey, nice to meet you, man. How things going? Hey, good to see you again. Energy, bring a little bit extra. Even if it's hard to do it just in that short period of time. Right? You can do it for a short period of time. It's hard to do it for a long 10-year, 15, 20-year career. But you could do it over 10 minutes meeting someone at a barbecue again, or seeing someone, an old friend at a barbecue. Bring a little bit extra energy. Right? Great handshake. Look them in the eye. Squeeze. Excited. Smile. Man, how are things? Unbelievable. Right? What's new? Man, I'm working with this company, man. It's right? The invitation script. Hey, I came across this company. It's going to allow me to do things I was never able to do at my jobs, such as retire my mom, such as get completely out of debt, man, make my own hours. Really? What right? So excitement, energy. But so once I did that, then I had to face my biggest fears of all, which was talking to people. My biggest fear of all was talking to people. So Ed Milet, one of his trainings, he said something, and I had this for years on my rear view mirror in my car, in my house. I need to bring it back up. I want you guys to write this down. I must be willing to do what the loser won't. I must be willing to do what the loser won't. So the loser will walk by the prospect, see a good potential person, hey, good energy, sharp, whatever, and just walk right by them, not prospect them. And maybe you're a little guilty, like, oh, I should have got that guy. You know what? As those words are going through your head, you got to turn around right there and go, hey, excuse me. Even if you got to go, you know what? This might seem weird. Take the weirdness off by saying that. You actually take the weirdness off by saying that. Hey, this might seem weird now, but I just had to ask, what do you do? You look sharp, or you look like you might be in sales or real estate or something. Right? You see someone that's Hispanic. Like for me, my biggest thing was just the initial breaking the ice. That's the biggest fear that I've ever had, and still kind of haunts me a little bit. It's just the initial breaking the ice. So you gotta be creative. I started finding things that worked. If I see Chris, I go, hey man, you know what? I gotta ask you. Do you speak Spanish by chance? Now I start the conversation. Now I got his attention. He thinks he needs to translate for me or something, right? Potentially. Right? Hey, do you speak Spanish by chance? I'm trying to figure out he probably thinks I'm like translating something that, directions or who knows. Cynthia Moore, when she first started prospecting, she would go to gas stations and she would go, hey, do you know where like Target is? Now you can't do it with smartphones, but back then it was like, hey, can you tell me is there a Target around here? Like at the gas station, like because typically you ask for directions at gas station, right? Some of the gas station getting gas, you're like, I got to get to you're going from point A to point B, so you ask for directions. Now you can't really do it now with smartphones because they're like, Google it. You know, GTS, right? Google that shit, right? You know, people just say GTS.
You can play it around though.
You know?
It keeps taking me in circles.
You could do that too. Right? Yeah. See, as you mature, you can use that one now, right? Like, it's just my phone. Lupe? Just kidding. I'm having a problem with my phone. Lupe can go into whoever her carrier is, AT&T. I'm having problems with my phone. Prospect the person. I'm having problems with my phone.
You know, like
Prospect everyone. Just anything you could do to start a conversation with someone is an opportunity to prospect them. Anything. Compliment. Hey, man, right? You're in the grocery store. You're gonna check out. Everyone buys food, right? At some point you have to eat. You do something at the grocery store, right? Somewhere, somehow, some way, sometime. When you're going through the checkout line, don't go to the empty line. Oh, empty line. Go to the line. Sit in the line. Or identify who's in the line. Who's in the line? Sharp guy? Sandy's in line? I'm going right here. Boom. Going right in there. Hey man, that's a nice watch. You know what I got? Where'd you get that one? Oh yeah, I got a couple of my, a couple of timepieces myself, blah, 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 whatever, Start the conversation up. Hey, you live here in Corona or where you stay at? Oh, here. Oh, well, what do you do for a living? Oh, I do this. Oh, okay.